we said, you can't put our names on this because we don't want to be getting, bug reports and all this stuff. They didn't listen to that. They put our names in personal cell phones right in the App Store. And the app was pretty popular. There was about 100,000 weekly listeners to the station.
That is Mark Johnson, the co-founder and managing partner at Michigan Software Labs, a software agency that builds custom software for Fortune 1000 companies. Today, they have built over 100 different products, have a team of about 50 people, and have built software for companies like the United Way, Caterpillar, and HarperCollins publishers. Contrary to what you might assume at first, Mark isn't a software developer. He would be considered what many might call the business co-founder. That doesn't mean he doesn't understand the tech or can't do a little bit of coding himself. It's just not his strong suit or focus. Mark actually created his first app after his wife told him she wanted an app to listen to the radio while running. I'll let him explain that in a little bit though. Before we jump into that story and why you should build custom internal software, let's start with the beginning of Mark's innovation journey, building clocks. You are the co-founder of Michigan Software Labs, but before we get into your all of that work and a lot of the cool things you're doing with that, let's even go before then and maybe even like pre-college or things like that. Were there any early influences that really set you up into this trajectory of entrepreneurship innovation? Was there maybe any childhood experiences or maybe any experiences in college that kind of led you to potentially to this career path?
If I can go back, way back to our childhood, my brother Nate and I had a clock company. And this is back in the early days where you could, get a jigsaw and create something. We would actually make it in the shape of Michigan. And we'd have clocks that we would be able to sell door to door. And so that was kind of our first introduction into entrepreneurship. And certainly our grandfathers were big influences on us for that.
What were these clocks? Were they just like the Michigan and then had the clocks on them? Like, where did you even get the idea for
Yeah.
a clock?
Yeah, so you could, I think it was $25 if you just wanted the Lower Peninsula. And, then I think you get, an extra $5 or something, and you could have the Upper and the Lower Peninsula. And we would get clocks that were sourced from a local clockmaker and just use a saw to cut it out in the shape of Michigan and then put a clock in there. And that was our first company.
$5 for another peninsula. That seems like a pretty good deal.
Yep.
All right, so you take that and then you go into college and you study business, get your MBA, and then all of a sudden you start your own company. But from getting maybe that college experience, was there anything you're like, oh, you know what, I don't want to go to these big corporates or anything like that. I want to do my own thing. Was there any moment like within that really set you up?
Yeah, I think, I went to Hope to be a dentist initially, and I was interning with my dentist and had a, kind of an experience with my dentist who was also Hope grad and just said, why are you going into this? Like, you're going to be miserable. Like, you should not be a dentist. And I was like, I hadn't really ever thought about, just the joy you get from work and things like that. And went back to my buddies that I lived with, and they're like, yeah, we don't think you should be a dentist. I'm like, why didn't you tell me that? That would have been good to know way back. Certainly, it was good to know that, pursuing business and entrepreneurship was going to be the best path for us.
Okay, so dentist to this. So, all right, so friends is right. You go through this experience, you're like, ooh, this isn't great. Was there anything, right, that kind of tips you into like, ooh, actually, I'm going to start my own thing again, right? So you did the clocks, but then like, you're like, ooh, I actually want to do this as a career path. Was there any moment that like kind of led you towards that first?
Yeah, I think we had an experience, and the Michigan Software Labs really started. It was my wife's idea. One day she just wanted to, have an app for running, and she would run around in the area and just like to listen to the local radio station. And so she said one day, honey, will you build me an app? And I put it on my honey-do list behind, do the dishes and mow the lawn. And I didn't know how to build apps. And so went to the Barnes & Noble and bought the Dummies book for app development. And this is the early days of the App Store. And so you couldn't just, there weren't a lot of apps out there. And so it was pretty cool to be able to learn how to program. And about 6 months, we had the iPhone version of the app. And then Josh and I were friends, and he's like, hey, I saw you built the iPhone version. I'll build the Android version. And he built it in a day because he was a professional programmer. And so we were able to donate the apps to the station. And with the one condition, we said, you can't put our names on this because we don't want to be getting, bug reports and all this stuff. And they didn't listen to that. They put our names in personal cell phones right in the App Store. and the app was pretty popular. There was about 100,000 weekly listeners to the station, so we had quite a few calls from people that wanted apps for their companies, and that's how it all started.
Wow. Okay, so you went from like the running app that was a honey-do list, which is super fascinating. And then, right, so you mentioned Josh, you're being your co-founder for Michigan Software Labs. So like how did you meet Josh? Was Josh just a friend?
Yeah, Josh and I were friends. Yeah, we're just really close, and our families hung out. And, the mutual interests, I guess, in terms of all the stuff that we got to do together. And he was, definitely more the brains of the company and able to, think about programming and solving all these early complex problems that we had of technology. And, how do you create apps for companies when there was really nothing else out there that you could really follow? And custom software wasn't new, but app development was certainly really new. And so, back in the day, it was Objective C, for iOS, and then Java for Android. And now so much has changed. But yeah, he was just incredible. We still work together today.
All right, so you go from a running app with Josh, and you're like, "Oh, we have 100,000 listens, and you're doing some really big things." So why not stick with that? Like, what led you to like, "Hey, we're gonna not instead of a running app, we're actually gonna build other people's apps."
So we really wanted to have a services company. I think that if we would have gone with only our own ideas, we would have burnt out pretty quick. And we just had it as a services mindset. And so I think that allowed us to really start fast and then hire some team members who were really talented. And yeah, we were able to pursue it without, having to take on any funding and things like that, because the services business really helps you fund your growth of your business as well as your learning. And so you're able to bring on new people and really learn new things that helps you grow.
That's interesting. You mentioned right, you didn't want to right burn out with your own ideas for like being on services. Can you talk more about that? Can you explain more about how that actually helps you not burn out, and then that way you don't have to be an ideas person all the time?
Yeah, I think it really allows you to just have a, kind of build a playbook that works. And so you start to get more and more reps. Whereas if you're just building the apps for yourself, you really don't get a ton of reps. You might have, two ideas that you can fund, and you really need iteration in software development. And so it allows you to get some more turns and some more reps in terms of iterating, and you get a lot better and you get a lot better talent. So for us, that was really what we wanted to focus on, is building apps and solving problems, and it's expanded beyond that. It's not just mobile anymore. It's a lot of different types of tools. But for us, that was a big thing early on, as we just got really interested in not one industry, but a variety of industries, and allowed us to just really stay curious and stay focused on solving those problems.
I'm sure right the early days, there's always I feel like some fun stories. So is there anything you look back on and you're like, "Ooh, I was really naive about," or we were really naive about, getting started? Is there anything that like you're like, "Ooh, I'll never do that because of such event"? Is there yeah, I guess any like early learnings that like are really have been really crucial to you, Michigan Software Labs and your own personal development?
Yeah, oh boy, we've made so many mistakes, and we we actually have a hall of fame of all the mistakes that we've made. Everything from, we used to outsource some parts of our process, and we don't do any of that anymore. From our standpoint now, we have everything done in our office, and so we have just a really good, culture and team environment. But for those early days, it was tricky, and we've had to say no to a lot of app ideas that people come to us. This is several years ago, but someone came into our office with a briefcase full of cash, and they wanted an app for a certain, item that they thought would sell really well in Michigan. And so we weren't able to do that, even though they had almost $1 million cash in our office. We're like, nope, we're not serving that industry, and we're really sorry, but we can't work in that industry. So
Wow. Wow, that had to be a crazy moment. So talking about Michigan Software Labs, right? Let's talk more about like maybe where it is today. How big is Michigan Software Labs? You mentioned right, you're not just doing apps anymore.
yeah, so we're about 50 people now, and we're serving a variety of industries. A lot of more Fortune 1000 companies, so big companies, and with large roadmaps, and they're trying to solve some really complex problems. And so we get to come alongside them and do custom software. And it's not just an app, it can be connected to an IoT device and things like that. Sometimes it's AI, sometimes it's cloud, sometimes it's web, but it's really focused on that business problem that we get excited about solving.
Okay, timeout. I want to just let you know that if you're looking to start your own venture, we have a free course at Station all about it. It'll help you get your foundation right with your own venture, especially if you're looking to be a bootstrapped venture. Again, it's completely free. Check it out in the description of this episode. Short timeout over, back to the interview. You're working with all these Fortune 1000 companies that typically have monster teams. Why would they work with maybe someone who's like you or an agency versus like just doing stuff in house?
Yeah, I think specifically for custom, we can go a lot faster and they don't have to have that long-term overhead of having a team. If you hire, let's say 10 people in software development, but you really only need them for 18 months to get, the product off the ground. And then, what do you do with them after that? Plus, we have experience building products. And so we're able to have them leverage that knowledge and experience for the products that they're building. We've seen a thing or two, we've built, over 100 products. And so we kind of know what to avoid and ways to hopefully go fast and try and create value for them.
So that makes total sense because not every, especially companies that might not be a tech, they might be a little techy. Every company I think is a little techy. So, right, they don't need to have these big tech teams. So that makes sense. All right. So one of the things though that's interesting about you too is that you've become like this LinkedIn influencer as well. You've been posting videos all the time, and there's new innovations. I know I saw the recent one was like Apple Vision Pro, which is cool to see you all working with. One of the interesting posts that kind of stood out to me though was you talked about corporations using their own internal software and developing that, and that becomes like a secret sauce. So I guess why and when would someone like maybe even these Fortune 1000 companies or even beyond that, like why and when should a company be really considering like, hey, we're going to build our own custom software that's more internal focused?
Yeah, I think it goes to, this idea of cooking. You could use the analogy of cooking, but you only have a certain amount of time. And so if you're going to create everything from scratch, it's just going to take longer than what you might have available to you. And so the way that we think about software is, 80% of the software, it can be, off the shelf. You don't really need a custom, a version of everything for your accounting software and your people software and things like that. But that 20% can really help differentiate your business and allow you to scale. And so what we do is we do a business model canvas with our clients and we try and figure out, all right, what does that 20% need to be? What is going to create the most amount of value for your business? That way you're not reinventing everything that's custom. And it's similar to cooking, where you wouldn't want to, create all these sauces and things like that for, a meal that you need to get out the door in 13 minutes. And so for us, we really think about it in the same way. And what are some things that maybe could be scratch and some things that could be pre-built?
So what would be an example of that? Would it be just like a custom CRM tool? Like what might be some examples of these like internal tools that would be like the secret sauce?
I think where you would want to look at is in the industry, where's the constraint happening? And so if you think about the customer journey, there's always a constraint. There's always some place where, the customer is not getting served very well, or there's a business model problem and you're like, yep, here it is. This is this is where everyone's getting stuck. And so we need to have some software that can help improve that. And we often will go inside a business, we'll look at redundancy, where are things happening multiple times or where are there spreadsheets where, wow, if Nancy doesn't fill out this one spreadsheet, everything's not going to work with our process. Like that's a good example where, you might be able to have some efficiency with custom software and Nancy can focus on other things and that'll add value to the business. But every industry is different, whether it's fintech or healthcare or logistics or, different newer ones that we're working in related to consumer products. And so it really depends on what the industry is and where that constraint is.
That makes a ton of sense. And I think even like even my own processes, even like as a little content creator, like there's even little things I'm like, even like building with Airtable and things like that. So I can totally see, how that could scale and how there's like even internal tools like that. So that perfectly makes sense. Shifting gears a little bit. So let's talk about like, what are you spending maybe your most time on? Is there anything that you're like, ooh, like this is a problem or like, this is what I'm really excited about in terms of like what you're working on right now?
Yeah, we're really writing a lot, which is different than we thought. Last year, we did a video a day on LinkedIn every work day, and we were able to reach just a ton of people through that. Millions of impressions. And what we found with that is that leaders were really looking for, content. They were trying to understand how do I become a better leader? How do I learn more about technology? And how do I help my teams thrive? And so that was kind of the flywheel that we spun on all year. And this year we're realizing we need more voices. And so we're starting to interview a lot of key leaders in West Michigan and throughout the region of, CEOs and successful people that have done built businesses and scaled businesses, and just asking them, all right, how'd you do it? Similar to what we're doing here, and just trying to offer some advice to those that want to tune in. And yeah, we're excited to see where that'll take us.
All right, so you mentioned, right, it was just mostly you, if I remember right, on those videos. So like why shift from like is it just to get more, different viewpoints? Is it the burnout standpoint? Like why shift to more of this like interview style?
Yeah, I think for us, it was really, we were already having these conversations with CEOs. And so we just wanted to bring it to our LinkedIn community and these different social communities. And so really, it was just more of a permission based marketing thing, if you think back to that. But it was just the idea of like, all right, we're already having these really engaging conversations. How can we bring this to others? And then shift the focus a little bit away from the daily videos, because those are great, but it's just a lot, in terms of the amount of, quality, because you want to keep quality high and engagement high. And so it's just a lot of work to be able to do all that for each day.
Yeah, a daily video, even if it's a short, that 100%, it's a lot. All
Yeah.
right, so you've mentioned that you've worked on like you're in a lot of different industries, a lot of different projects. Has there been one particular maybe project or team that you've worked with that's been really like a lasting mark on you, even if it's one that you didn't expect it to be a lasting mark on you?
There's this one that we've been working on recently, which is trying to help enable navigation for the blind and low vision community. That's pretty cool. It's a company, nonprofit actually out of Utah that's working on this. And they have this smart cane technology that allows you to navigate an airport or, a public space, and basically giving you the freedom to travel without needing, to have someone guide you, or having a dog even. So it's been pretty cool to be a part of that, and just incredible new technology that's coming out.
That is incredible. Um, is it software and hardware, or is it just software?
Yeah, we did the software part of it, and it connects to a hardware device that can read, different tags and things out in the world, and allows you to know when to turn, know where to get turn by turn navigation. You can use your voice. You can have the earbuds in order to make it completely discreet, where you're trying to go. And it's really accurate, and really cool to see it come out.
That's incredible. It reminds me of like of the AT&T, the football helmet, which they've been shown on TV a lot, where like you can
Yeah.
see the play. So that's sweet. Last question for you is like when you're done with this work, what do you hope to be able to say that like, hey, here's the impact, or like what's what do you hope that's the outcome of your career at the end of the day?
Yeah, I mean, for us, we do want to impact the world and improve the world around us. We're disrupting some industries that we're in, and that's exciting because we're able to help our clients really thrive in that. But which creates jobs and creates positive economic outcomes. But then also the nonprofit work that we were doing in mental health last year, or some of this work that we're doing for the blind and low vision community is pretty cool. So I get so excited about it, and being able to make an impact and reach all these new people, it's been exciting.
So where can people learn more about Michigan Software Labs, or even just the work you're doing, even a little bit outside of that?
Yeah, I'd love for people to check out michiganlabs.com. That's our website, and we do have new news coming out with all the different clients and projects that we're working on. Or you can follow me on LinkedIn, Mark Johnson. If you put that in LinkedIn, you'll be able to find me. And yeah, I'd love to connect with you there.
Mark is awesome, and I still can't believe someone actually showed up with $1 million in cash to his office. Let me know what you thought of this episode by leaving a comment or signing up for the station newsletter in the description, and let me know what you thought of the episode there. Thanks for watching and listening.